Live from the floor of the NYSE with Jim Cramer. Jim, I know I need to ask you what's on the top of your mind, but can we talk about the Dow, which just hit an all-time high?
Well, look, I think that the Dow's got a lot of industrials, and people are saying, wait a second, if the trade deal occurs, then a lot of those industrials are going to go up, and I think it's correct. I mean, Carl Kennedy asked me, Jim, would you fade this rally? And I typically like to say yes to that, but the fact is that the trade talks are being led by Wilbur Ross. He's a very practical man. He understands exactly how the Chinese have wiped out certain industries, steel. So he's not someone who's trifled with. He's not someone the president's going to disagree with because he's got the president's ear, and he also has what I would say, the respect of the president of all the people in the cabinet. It may be the most. So this is very exciting, and barring a decision by Boeing to shut down its assembly line, which is always a possibility, it's got staying power.
So aside from the Dow, what else is going on? What's on the top of your mind?
I'm surprised that oil's doing well. I mean, it's the first time. There's some notes about how oil could go up a lot. I don't believe them because we can flood the world with oil, but it is in the Saudis' interest to have oil go higher because of the Aramco deal. They could cut back $1 million, take a couple million off without telling us, and maybe oil could go up. We can't make up a couple of million. We can make up some. That explains why a Chevron, which didn't have a good quarter, could be going higher. Exxon, we own BP for Action Alerts. It's been a dog, but it's not anymore, and it should also mean that Schlumberger goes up. So my choice would be that Schlumberger may be the one. We're not going to buy it because we have enough, but that may be the one you want to buy because it's got good yield and safe.
Over on Real Money this morning, you wrote a column based on the U.S.-China trade war, and one thing that really stood out to me was the fact that you said that the Chinese have not done enough to prove their end of this truce.
Look, the November Argentinian meeting turned out to be a disaster, and I think the president was really been lashing out ever since then, justifiably, because he left that meeting very, very excited about what the Chinese were going to do. And then they did nothing. And so then what he did was he changed his posture to something that Peter Navarro had been recommending, which is, look, 7 deadly sins, start checking them off. If not, we're going to keep raising tariffs. And the raising of tariffs was very important because now you got them to the point where American companies know they have to move out. And it's frantic how they're moving out. And the Chinese, despite the fact that the media thinks they're all powerful and the media believes everything the Chinese communists say, they're on the ropes. And that's why they're willing to give in. By the way, Huawei, the other companies that are in 5G are moving ahead in China. But people don't understand that the communist Chinese make mistakes. And they just, the media commentary is always the same, which is they play a long game, this and that. They make mistakes. Xi is making mistakes. He's obviously making mistakes in Hong Kong. I mean, what are they supposed to do in Hong Kong? Well, the protesters should have known this was coming. How could the government not see it coming? So, you may think that they're all powerful. I look at the protests in Hong Kong every weekend, and I say to myself that the Chinese are a paper tiger. Because if they can't quell Hong Kong, why should I think that they can quell our president?
Well, what do they need to do to quell the president?
They need immediately to be able to switch, and it's very hard to do, by the way. They're buying all these soybeans from Brazil. It's very hard to just suddenly switch and buy soy. They can buy pork, they can buy chicken, they can buy beef, they can buy corn. They need all of those, especially because ours are disease-free when it comes to animals. It should be done. It should be done tomorrow as a sign of good faith. And I hate to be so capital punishment oriented, but they need to execute the people who've been selling fentanyl because they're murderers, selling bad fentanyl to our country. This is something that they have said they'll crack down. Remember, they kill a lot of white-collar criminals every year. This is not idle. I don't think the media who laps up the communist Chinese have any idea what they've done. I have tremendous respect for the fact that they've fed 400 million people. I have tremendous respect for the idea that they have a tradition of trying to get people out of poverty. But let's not confuse things. They do not share our values.
You can, of course, read more from Jim over on realmoney.com, and you can also read about our Real Money stock of the day, Under Armour. Now, Jim, Under Armour posted earnings this morning that beat expectations. But the biggest news is the federal probe.
The Street had a horrible revenue recognition problem. We don't talk about it much. But the way you handle revenue recognition problems, you shine a light on. It's really unfortunate when you have one because it tends to be someone who's low level. and everybody has to fall on their sword. And it's really a shame because the high-level people typically have never even seen it. But this is something where, how could you not disclose if the Justice Department were involved? Justice Department's probably at their offices, And the reason I say this is because if you look at the action in the stock, I said it on air, so it's not like I'm making it up. I said I don't understand the action in the stock. It just doesn't seem right. And the answer was that they knew, people who bought the stock on Friday. Well, what are we supposed to say to them? Hey, listen, sorry that you trusted us. This is very bad, and I don't think that there's a real sense of understanding about how bad it is when you have that kind of level of investigation. It's criminal. Justice Department's criminal. So this is, I can't emphasize how wrongly they've handled it. Now, you can always find a law firm and a crisis firm that will say that this is good. I'm not a reporter, okay? I'm a business person who has retired from business. And I absolutely know how wrong this was from having been involved in one of these scandals. And you tell everyone because you don't want anyone buying the stock. I mean, think about that. That's a terrible thing. You certainly don't want anyone selling the stock. So this was a major a problem that I think is going to produce some very bad results for Under Armour.
And obviously this headline is going to follow Under Armour for quite an amount of time. So Jim, what's it going to take to regain investors' trust in Under Armour?
Well, they're going to have to come out and say that the revenue recognition problem they had was just a change of dates, and that the cash position is exactly what they said, and that the actual revenue recognition was just if they pulled forward to be able to make a quarter, had they put the money back, then there wouldn't be an overstatement. It was clearly an overstatement, but this is the worst I've seen in a long time. I don't know whether it rivals Nortel. That was really criminal. But this is just a highly unusual thing, and I really wish it hadn't happened. And I have to talk about it in harsh terms. I don't think anyone else in the media has been involved in a revenue recognition and SEC issue. So I'm not easily buffaloed on what to do. I've researched this area probably better than anyone in the media. I research this from the point of view of having been investigated by it and knowing exactly what to do, having been schooled by the best. And I know it's really painful to come out and say what happened, but that's what you're supposed to do. And they were ill-advised, and it's time to just come clean and talk about how much it really, what was really shifted and what was the reality.
We got another headline last night that is bringing us to today, which is McDonald's CEO Steve Easterbrook has been fired after a consensual relationship with an employee.
Yeah, well, let's hope, like Brian Krasanich can cover. I really like Steve. I liked his hard-charging nature. I love the fact that he got the franchisees on his side. I love the technology that he put through. I love the fact he was committed to trying to help the food chain, having free-range chicken and having fresh patty. I know that millennials, the younger cohort, can't stand him, because they're doing a test from Beyond Meat in a couple of places in Canada. Meanwhile, the Impossible Burger, which has GMO, by the way, is in Burger King, but this is a sad one. It's not tragic because nobody died, but it's a sad one because Easterbrook is such a good guy. But remember, there's no such thing as consensual because he's the boss. So you just can't call it consensual. I mean, she may love him, he may love her, but it doesn't matter. He's the boss, so it's coercive no matter what, and it's per se coercive. And I don't think, that's shocking. It's bad judgment. I care more about what the new guy's going to do, but you have to acknowledge it was incredibly ill-advised and move on.
Jim, based on that, I want to ask, you tweeted out yesterday about the fact that we've been talking a lot about Wendys Breakfast, and you thought that was impacting the stock, but you think that maybe this was, that the news that the CEO is being fired was impacting?
Yeah, I mean, you have to believe that that last wave down, I think they tried to get ahead of it, I really do. Unlike Under Armour, I I think they try to get the news out. When you try to, in a big company like that, try to get the news out, I mean, the stock has been going down. I don't know much how it was Wendys and how much of it was that Steve was in trouble because Steve is so loved. I think McDonald's culture is a very solid one, and I do believe they have good bench strength. But, these kinds of scandals, I don't know. It's like, when did they know it? And I have to believe that McDonald's tried to make a clean breast very fast. But this was terrible judgment. And when these things happen, you have to think forward, not backward. But at the same time, I'd be a fool to say that it didn't matter, because I liked Easterbrook a tremendous amount. He had really re-energized the culture, and it's really too bad that he chose such poor judgment. And I know he feels that today. This is very different from Under Armour, okay? This is just poor personal judgment. This is not the books. I'm not sympathetic. I want McDonald's to win, and this man hurt it with his judgment, but I think that they can recover, and the stock's very interesting here.
Jim, before we go, I want to talk about Lock of the Week, which is our new bull market fantasy segment. You seem to have so much fun with it.
Jimmy from Anywhere, it's really interesting because we do a Lock of the Week. I put the chains around me. And this is bull market fantasy. Of course, we're doing tomorrow at 10:45. The Lock of the Week this is the way I love Locks of the Week. The Bills didn't have to, that last touchdown, they didn't do it, didn't need to, but they covered. And so anyone who's Jimmy from Anywhere is hot as a pistol, and it's just funny. It's just fun for me. I can't bet, but understand that we're bringing a lot. We're bringing the heat for that show.
All right, guys, and of course you can check out Bull Market Fantasy over on bullmarketfantasy.com. We'll be live around 10:45 a.m. tomorrow morning. Check us out. And now we're going to move over to our Action Alerts Plus Daily Rundown show over on actionalertsplus.com. I'm Catherine Ross, and we'll see you tomorrow.